Republicans are assembling in Miami for the next debate, and it's the first one after the horrific terror attacks in Israel. Will national security dominate the conversation? Well, we'll ask our special guest today. He's one of the debate moderators and the grandfather of the Salem media family, Hugh Hewitt. A very special edition of Larry, brought to you by our friends at the Electronic Payments Coalition. That's right. Salem Media will be co-hosting this next Republican debate tomorrow in Miami. And of course, that means we're all assembling. Town Hall will be there with a very special production of this show, pre-debate, right outside of the theater where the debate's taking place. And then afterwards, post-debate coverage with our great colleague, Katie Pavlet. And of course, we'll be live blogging throughout the entire debate. But on stage, as one of the debate moderators, is my personal hero, the one and only Hugh Hewitt, who joins us live from Miami now. Hugh, thanks for that. Is it okay that I called you our grandfather? Because you're the patriarch, is what I meant.
I got that. Yes, I am the Jim Lair of Salem News Radio. You can't get rid of me. I've been here forever. That's right. So I remember you when you were 8.
That was the subtext. Yes.
Yeah.
No, we're also proud of you. I mean, listen, you've done these debates before, and it's so great. In fact, I want to start there. Since you've participated in many debates in the past, how important do you think it is to have a voice from the center right, to have your voice not just on the stage, but during the debate prep? Because I'm thinking you're bringing topics to the table from a certain perspective that the other moderators may not think of, or at least sort of live within the realm of the vernacular that you bring to the table. Have I said that diplomatically enough?
You're right. People frame issues differently based upon their lived experience. Legacy media is overwhelmingly center-left to sometimes very far left, and Salem media is center to center-right to very conservative. And I'm in the center-right space, as you are, and we've lived there for a long, long time. We're national security conservatives, and I think this is the right debate. Obviously, when we set up the schedule and Ron McDaniel and David Bossie invited Salem to participate, they did not know we would be in the middle of 2 hot wars in the world. So it's turned out to be a very serious setting. I don't recall 2015 or 2016 debates, and Salem did 4 of them then. I don't recall any of them having this kind of a backdrop with 1,400 to 1,500 Israelis dead, 230 Israelis, many Americans among them, in the tunnels of Gaza, a war raging, Ukraine raging, China making noise about invading Taiwan. It's a very significant period of time for the country. But as you know, Larry, people call our shows and they want to talk about other things beside the wars. They want to talk about the price of milk. They want to talk about the border. They want to talk about crime and punishment. So it's only 2 hours. Unlike the CNN debates with which Salem partnered last year, the production's much tighter, many more rehearsals, because it's a network. It's got to go out at 11 o'clock. It can't just say, oh, let's just keep the CNN tape rolling. The very first debate 8 years ago went 3.5 hours. That isn't going to happen on Wednesday night.
That's right. NBC has to worry about all of the affiliates and all of the local stations who are waiting for a hard out. Although you're used to hitting a hard out there with your clock on Salem Radio. So
it doesn't bother me, but
yeah,
it'll bother the candidates.
Exactly. Well, I want to keep talking about national security a little bit. You're right. There's a lot of topics at hand, and I don't want you to reveal too much. I'm guessing you can't reveal too much.
Correct.
But not just the horrific attack at the hands of Hamas and the most devastating slaughter of innocent Jews literally since the Holocaust, Hugh, but also the reaction that we've seen, not just worldwide, but the disturbing reaction that we've seen here domestically. It's dominated my conversation every day since October 7th. This has got to be a main focus tomorrow night. Now, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor today, the Electronic Payments Coalition, and most specifically, the big box bill. We got to stop this big box bait and switch, as you can see. What is it? Well, it's a handout to the big guys, the Walmarts, the Targets, the Costco's, all those guys. You see, they're trying to put through this regulation that forces new credit card payment processing routing on all retailers. And of course, the big guys can afford it. They got all the money to do it. It's the mom and pop companies, the family-owned business, the small business entrepreneurs
who are going to be burdened by this whole thing. That's why these big box guys are actually in favor of this thing, because it's going to drown out their competition. We don't want that. See, we're conservatives. We believe in the free market. We believe in entrepreneurs, and we certainly don't believe in big government regulations that force these small businesses to have to spend so much money on things like this. So please let your congressman know, like emphatically. Get more information for yourself at stopthebigboxbaitandswitch.com. Stopthebigboxbaitandswitch.com.
Well, I can't tell you if it is or not. I can tell you that it's been a conversation topic among the NBC people and me, because a lot of the NBC people come out of the Ivy Leagues, as I do. The executive of NBC News, the president of NBC News, sadly, is a Michigan lady. So we were actually talking Michigan Ohio State football, and she's ill-informed about that, but she's very well informed about the world. And so we talk about, she's been very kind. I've been very kind in not bringing up the cheating scandal, and she's been very complimentary for my not bringing it up. So there is a human dynamic in the room, but she's a China hand. She was with the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal in the China field for a long time. So not relevant to the question set, not giving it away.
Understood.
People in this room are very focused on the world, but also aware that there are a lot of Americans, I don't want to say they don't care, but if they have a problem of crime having hit their family, if they have a problem of addiction having hit their family, if they can't pay for groceries, they can't find a job, they can't afford their car payment, that's top of mind with them too.
Absolutely.
It's actually almost impossible in 2 hours. That's why you need a series of debate. And I again compliment the RNC. They're laying out a series of debates. They're doing their best to make sure a lot of different people get a bite at the apple to ask the candidates who remain questions.
As you know, Hugh, since you trained me at a very young age, I'm too serious of a broadcast journalist to get distracted by your gratuitous attacks on the University of Michigan. So I'll just keep moving on with my agenda here, although I may have a couple of follow-ups a little later. The withdrawal of Vice President Mike Pence last week from the candidates, does that change the dynamic on stage? And, well, again, without revealing too much, does it change your approach and your fellow moderators' approach? Because I've got to think some of the questions you have a certain candidate in mind when you craft them.
Well, there are only 5. This is actually a luxury. The first debate we did at Reagan, I was looking at 13 people on the stage, and there's a fellow in my New York, a guy named Eric, who's a wonderful guy from CNN, and they were very concerned with being fair by time, so your redirects got directed. This is much less structured, because 5 people, you can get around the horn a lot. Sometimes you won't get around the horn, but you can get around the horn a lot. I doubt anyone will think they were treated unfairly. That was a problem at one of the debates. When we finished in Miami in 2016, there were only 4 people, Ted Cruz, John Kasich, Marco Rubio, and soon-to-be President Trump. And that was a great debate because there were only 4 people. And 5 is maybe one more than perfect, but I'm going to miss meeting Doug Burgum in person. I'm going to miss seeing the vice president again. And it's unfortunate that our friend Larry Elder didn't make the stage to begin with. But the rule set that was set up by the RNC was transparent. It was fairly applied. It's been fairly applied right now. And between the candidates, and we're talking Tim Scott, Chris Christie, Vivek Ramaswamy, Nikki Haley, and Governor DeSantis, there'll be plenty to talk about. And I still don't rule out, I mean, if the former president rolls up, I'm sure they'll put a standout for him.
I sure hope he does. I still hope he does. I understand the political geniuses who say that it can only do harm and there's no reason for him to do it when he's so far ahead. But let's talk about the former president. I mean,
and he's in trial.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. What is the dynamic there when you've got the elephant not in the room? Do you raise it? Do you bring it up? Do you ask the candidates, if the legal trouble that President Trump is facing should affect the general election? Should it affect the primary process if he gets the nomination? Do you conduct this as if you would an interview versus a debate?
No, interviews are very different from debates. And so when they have limited amount of time, I don't think you want to put iron shackles on someone and make them go somewhere that they don't want to go. But they've got plenty of time. one of the improvements in the rules that the RNC was suggesting, and I won't make those rules explicit, is there'll be plenty more time for candidates to talk so they don't feel so.
That's great.
Pushed. And they can go wherever they want. I mean, they can go talk about Ohio State football if they want. They can go talk about the Cleveland Browns being 5-3 and in the playoff hunt. They can go talk about the cheating scandal if they want, and the collapse of ethics in American higher education. They can talk about whatever they want, Larry.
I'm not taking the bait, Hugh. Does Governor DeSantis enjoy any kind of home court advantage, given that this is in his state?
Every candidate got the same amount of tickets. So we're really going to beg the audience, let the candidates out. At the first two debates, audience noise did interfere with the ability of audience to hear, and not just senior citizens like me, but even youngsters like you couldn't hear crosstalk and collapse and booing. But I don't know. Crowds are crowds, right? Browns fans are rowdy. Not so much Wolverines fans, but it depends.
I'm going to look beyond that one as well, Hugh. And that my discipline has gotten a lot better.
My practice. I'm trying to elicit a reaction.
Yeah. Were you surprised when you look at the last two debates? There were a couple of topics that I was surprised didn't take more prominence. For instance, COVID-19 and the conduct during the pandemic and the conduct of there are people on that stage who had decision-making power and went in various directions on the pandemic shutdown. I'm shocked that it's not getting more attention in some of these debates.
Well, candidates can go wherever they want. And that I looked at the first two debates, and I as you know from interviewing a million people, and I know from interviewing a million people, if they don't want to answer your question, they can say, that's a good question. I'll be right back to it. Let me talk to you about Anthony Fauci. And then with 5 seconds, I'm sorry I didn't get to your time. Do you want to give me more time? And you can't give them more time. So, then it's on you. So they're all very smart people, right? They're all very smart people. But keep score, because I have a guesstimate in my head as to who will break the rules the most. But I'm not going to tell you who I think that's going to be.
As you know, here in Virginia, it's election day today. Governor Youngkin is all in on this off-year midterm election. If he can grow his majority in the House of Delegates and maybe flip the Senate, that's going to make a big difference in terms of his trajectory in the Republican Party. Do you think there's any chance, if he does have a good day today, that he might make a last-minute go for this?
Well, I want to fact-check you, Larry, like I might have to do tomorrow night. You're not from Virginia. You've crossed over the river. You're from Maryland. I'm from Virginia. You shouldn't even be talking about Virginia.
Pardon me, I will interject. The town hall studios are right here in Rosslyn, Virginia.
You are an interloper.
Our company is a Virginia-based company.
Screen behind you. You're not really a Virginian. You got the governor to appoint you some Mickey Mouse job, and I've spoken to him about that. But I'm optimistic about Virginia tomorrow because we have a great governor. I'm very optimistic. What do you think?
I think he's going to have a very good day. I think he's going to have a very good day.
What does he do with majorities? What does he lower taxes with majorities? I know he's running
he gets rid of the car ban. He gets rid of the car tax, incredibly unpopular tax in Virginia, brought on by Ralph Northam and the McAuliffe-Northam administrations. And he gets very aggressive on school curriculums, which was going to lead me to my next question. Should he have a good day? Glenn Youngkin is leading the way on the so-called culture wars in terms of the right way not only to address them, but to communicate about these issues, bringing parents and voters in the driver's seat. Do you think that this is a dormant issue still in the presidential campaigns? Do you think that the other candidates are going to start to get it? Because I know you take calls on your show, Hugh. So do I. These are the issues that excite people.
You get calls on your show?
Yeah, we have a huge audience. It's hard to keep them out.
Okay, well, I never heard that. But
wait, are you still on the radio? Actually,
yeah. They're calling my show when you're on there. What I wanted to tell you is, Youngkin is a thought leader, and unfortunately, if he wanted to get in the presidential, he can't because the timelines are gone. But he will be a great, I would think, a party chairman as well, a person guiding us on education. I think education matters a great deal. It hasn't come up yet to date, but for the war, I think it would have been a domestic policy debate heavy. But this is a serious time and a serious moment for the world. And, by tomorrow night, there could be another war somewhere. I mean, Lebanon could open the war on Iran, could send its proxies in from Syria to Lebanon into Israel. So it's a very, very difficult time to prepare for something like this and then not get swept up in a headline that isn't a headline. And mostly, I think I've told you this many times, the mark of a successful debate is when no one is talking about the moderators afterwards and talking about the exchanges between the candidates. So once again, I've made that twice over the 4 times I've done it, and twice I didn't. I'd rather be 3-2 at the end of this, invisible. So we'll see.
I hope so. Can you give us a little bit of insight into kind of the amount of preparation that you've had to do for this?
Yes,
because it's quite a process.
8 dress rehearsals, of which 6 are done. Another one is today, another one is tomorrow, and then the debate is on Wednesday. Wow. So that's a lot of time with my new best friends, Kristen Welker and Lester Holt, and 2 dozen NBC people, all of whom are professional. I like to assure our friends on the center right of media that when they hear bias, they don't. The folks who are emitting bias don't realize it's bias. It's just the world they live in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. And I've been hearing, oh, it's NBC News, there's no reason to watch it. No. This is Salem Media's debate. That's why Hugh Hewitt is there. And that's the whole point, is to have fair and balance. And my biggest frustration when I see these debates is I'm a Republican voter, and this debate is for me and for my fellow Republicans. I want questions and issues that are raised that matter most to me. And, well, that's where you come in, Hugh. That's why you're there.
Well, that's
I need
why
you on that
Salem
wall.
gave me not a wall. That's why they gave me 8 days off. And you've heard Morgan Ortegas and Dwayne Patterson and Ed Morrissey filling in for me. And the reason they did that is you want to be in the room as the discussions occur. So you can say, let me point out, that's not what any Republican I've ever talked about believes.
Yeah.
And nobody ever calls my show with that issue. And it's important. But the good news is they take notes, they listen, and they adjust. That's why you put a conservative in the room.
Yeah. Well, we're all looking forward to it. It's exciting. I am worried about you. Do you have sunscreen on right now? Because that Florida sun, your skin is like parchment. I mean,
look at how it's just setting the sun over. By the way, have you ever been to Coconut Grove and Coral Gables?
No, Hugh, I'm actually not 73 years old quite yet.
Well, I'm the fastest person walking. That's very good. And it's really a lovely place.
It must be nice to not have a walker there. It is.
And I have to be zipping by everyone and moving fast. It's actually a very young community, very Cuban America. I'll just give you a little vignette. Mass this Sunday, maybe the best mass I've attended in decades, because it's just a Cuban American congregation.
That's great. They didn't dance, did they? I always have trouble with that.
No, they didn't dance.
Oh, good. Now let's get to it. November 25th, I believe it is. Michigan versus Ohio State. Back in the big house. Michigan going for 3 in a row.
Will Mr. Harbaugh be suspended?
Of course not. He didn't break any rules. You don't really take this seriously. Are you really becoming this guy? This guy.
I'm following the news. I'm just a newsman.
So you think Ohio State got demolished the last 2 years because of signs being stolen?
I don't know much about Mr. Stallion. I'm willing to be persuaded that
he's a Naval Academy graduate, Hugh. So watch yourself now.
I'm sure he's very good at what he's been asked.
Naval Academy grad and a United States Marine.
Can we agree on this? Mr. Harbaugh will not be at the University of Michigan next year?
No, absolutely. I won't agree on that. I know that you're hoping and praying for that. I mean, listen, you have experience in this. I don't. Ohio State has been suspended and penalized so many times for so many reasons. I mean, Urban Meyer was your head coach, for God's sake.
Urban Meyer came to the defense of Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, I bet he did.
I can't believe anyone in college football would do this.
Let me be clear.
I can't believe it, he said.
This is like Tom Brady Deflategate. You have to come up with something because you can't beat the team on the field. And so now you've come up with this bogus sign-stealing things. It's ridiculous. Let me be clear. When Michigan beats Ohio State...
Let me introduce you to Mr. Travion Henderson, who is back and who is healthy.
And Michigan will beat Ohio State.
In the last 2 weeks?
It's going to be Michigan's 1,001st historic win, making them, as they already are, the winningest program in college football history, something Ohio State will
If
never
you play
be.
for a long time against Western Michigan, it helps.
And you're just
Eastern
going to have
Michigan,
to
Western
live with
Michigan,
that.
Central Michigan. Do we count those? Do we count
Hugh,
those wins?
We're out of time, Hugh.
I thought we might be out of time.
I appreciate you joining us today on our special program. And
Thank
good
you,
luck at the
Larry.
debate. We're very excited. We'll see
Get
you
out
tomorrow
of
night
Virginia.
in Miami. Hugh Hewitt, everybody. Listen, thank you for watching today. Don't forget to watch all of our special coverage tomorrow live from Miami. And like, subscribe, and share this video with everyone, especially your favorite Ohio State and Michigan fans. That's it for today. I'm Larry O'Connor. You can call me Larry. We'll see you tomorrow live from Miami.